Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, for Session 6, we're diving headfirst into American cuisine. We're going to unpack how the nation's incredibly rich history of immigration and cultural fusion is basically served up right on its plates. You know, food is just an amazing lens for understanding a society. And the United States, well, it offers a massive, delicious puzzle for us to put together.
So let's just bust a common myth right out of the gate. When people outside the US think of American food, their minds almost immediately jump to fast food. You know, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe a mountain of French fries. But is that all there is? Absolutely not. The reality of American cuisine is vastly more complex, incredibly diverse, and deeply rooted in the history of the people who actually built the country.
Here is our menu for today. We'll start by defining American cuisine, take a quick regional food tour, check out some classic staple foods, and then wrap things up with the dining out experience and American dining habits. Let's get right to it.
All right, Section 1, Defining American Cuisine, the melting pot on a plate. At its very core, American food is literally a giant bubbling melting pot. This whole nation was built by immigrants coming from every corner of the globe, different ethnicities, races, and religions arriving from Europe, Asia, Africa, and across the Americas. Because of that, American cuisine offers an almost infinite array of culinary choices. It isn't just one static thing, it's a constantly evolving, flavorful fusion. As millions of immigrants arrived, they brought their cherished traditional recipes and ingredients and then merged those with local resources to create entirely new, distinct culinary traditions. It's really fascinating.
Moving right along to Section 2, a regional food tour, exploring geography and flavor.
Okay, so geography and immigration, they're kind of like the twin chefs shaping local diets across this massive country. Let's look at New England, which covers states like Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Because of its rocky coastal geography, their diet is incredibly seafood heavy. We're talking steaming bowls of thick, creamy clam chowder alongside fresh, flaky local catches like cod and haddock. Now travel down to the mid-Atlantic, New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland. This area was heavily influenced by Italian immigration, which gave us the irresistible savory bite of iconic New York pizza. It's also where you'll find the incredibly rich Philly cheesesteak and perfectly crisped Maryland crab cakes. Keep heading down to the south and you hit comfort food central. It's heavy on grains and famously fried. Think crispy southern fried chicken, golden hush puppies, and spicy, deeply aromatic stews like jambalaya and gumbo. And finally, the Southwest, which is heavily influenced by its proximity to Mexico. This gives us mouth-watering Tex-Mex fusion, heavily corn-based dishes, smoky chili con carne, and zesty tacos. Next up, Section 3, Classic American Staple Foods, Coast-to-Coast Classics.
Now here's where things get fun, because Americans take their national staples and the regional rivalries that go with them very seriously. Take pizza, for example. On the East Coast, you've got New York-style pizza. That's known for large, wide, thin slices that you can literally fold in half in your hand. But on the flip side, you have Chicago-style pizza in the Midwest. That one is a deep dish. It has a massive, thick crust piled ridiculously high with gooey cheese and rich, chunky tomato sauce. It's practically a pie. Both are beloved, but trust me, Americans will playfully argue for hours over which one is the true champion.
But it definitely doesn't stop at pizza. There are a few more massive heavy hitters you should know. Barbecue is huge in the U.S. Places like St. Louis and Tennessee are totally famous for the sweet, smoky aroma of slow-cooked BBQ ribs and tender pulled pork. Then, of course, you've got your classic hamburgers with thick, juicy beef patties. And you absolutely cannot overlook hot dogs. Depending on where you are, like Chicago, for instance, you'll get a hot dog loaded with an incredibly diverse mix of toppings, from spicy peppers to tangy relishes. For dessert, there's the famous, refreshingly tart key lime pie, originally from Key West, Florida. Oh, and reflecting some early British influence, you'll actually still find plenty of crispy golden fish and chips around too.
All right, let's switch gears to Section 4. The dining out experience, from suits to 24/7 booths.
When you go out to eat in the US, you are looking at a pretty wild spectrum based on your budget and vibe. On one end, you have highly formal fine dining. Men are often expected to wear sharply tailored suits, women in elegant dresses. It's expensive, and the whole experience is focused on a really sophisticated, highly curated atmosphere. But then, on the total opposite end of the spectrum, you have the classic American casual diner. Diners are an iconic staple of U.S. culture. They're incredibly relaxed, super affordable, serve massive, comforting portions, and the best part? They're often open 24/7. It is the perfect place to slide into a booth for a hot cup of coffee and a bite to eat whenever you happen to be hungry, dressed exactly as you are.
And hey, keep your eyes peeled for this growing trend in American cities, the pop-up restaurant. These are temporary dining spots that might just take over an existing space for a month or two, offering really unique, limited-time menus. Because they're only around for such a short window, they generate a massive amount of hype. It's becoming a hugely popular way for innovative chefs to test out crazy, exciting new culinary concepts. To really navigate this scene like a pro, there's some essential vocab you'll need under your belt. You've got your standard fast food, where the drive-thru is king, picking up your meal without ever actually leaving your car. Fast casual is one step up from that. You get higher quality, fresher ingredients, but it still has that quick counter service. A pub or bar and grill is your lively go-to spot to grab a beer and some hearty food. You will find a cozy coffee house on practically every single corner. When you're scanning a menu, you'll often see the word filling, which just refers to the rich ingredients stuffed inside a sandwich or wrap. And finally, leftovers, which actually brings us to a very important aspect of American food culture.
And that leads us to our final section, Section 5, American Dining Habits, focused on abundance and options.
Okay, brace yourselves for this one. Sometimes an American restaurant menu can literally be 30 pages long. 30! Now, while a smaller town might have a simpler menu, in major cities, the sheer variety of options they throw at you can be delightfully dizzying. American dining culture places a massive emphasis on giving the customer a vast array of choices, so you end up with way more variety in a single menu than you'll typically find in most other countries.
And speaking of abundance, the portion sizes, they are generally massive. American food portions tend to be much bigger and, often a bit heavier on the calories. But this is actually a fascinating reflection of a cultural history of abundance. Getting a high perceived value for your hard-earned money is a really big deal. Let's just say, when you order a meal in America, you are almost guaranteed not to leave the table hungry.
Because of those giant portions, honestly, cleaning your plate in one sitting is pretty rare, which leads to a totally practical cultural norm: leftovers. It is completely normal and genuinely expected to ask your server to pack up whatever you didn't finish so you can take it home. Sometimes people affectionately call this a doggy bag. Seriously, you never need to feel shy about asking for a box. It's just a wonderfully standard part of the whole dining out experience.
So, as you dive into this huge, delicious culinary landscape, the absolute best piece of advice I can give you is simply this: step out of your comfort zone. Be open to new foods. Because the US is such a massive melting pot, you have this amazing chance to try fusions you've never even dreamed of. And, most importantly, always rely on local recommendations. Ask the locals where you should eat and what you should order. That is exactly how you find those spectacular hidden gems that the guidebooks totally miss.
So, I'll leave you with this. Which regional American dish are you brave enough to order first? Will it be a bowl of incredibly thick, creamy clam chowder up in New England? A massive, foldable slice of New York pizza? Or maybe you'll get really adventurous and try some fried alligator down south. It's a delicious question to ponder as you plan your own American culinary adventure. Thanks for hanging out with us for this explainer. Keep learning, keep exploring, and definitely stay curious.